Hey there, welcome to this video on getting started with open source AI. I'm not gonna lie, I've been down this rabbit hole for about 3 years now, just figuring stuff out on my own. Honestly, I'm not some programming wizard or anything. Don't worry, you don't need to know programming to follow along with what I'm gonna tell you about today. If you're completely new to AI, that's totally fine. Or if you kind of know AI, but you're new to open source, that's okay. We all start somewhere. The only thing that might help is if you already get the basic idea of what open source means. That's software that's freely available that anyone can use and modify. What I'm going to walk you through today is basically all the terminology and how everything fits together in the open source AI world. This is exactly the stuff I wish that someone else had explained to me when I first started out. Consider this your foundation, the things you really need to understand before you actually start using any of this stuff yourself. What exactly is an LLM? It's basically just a large language model. That's what that acronym means. It's a fancy term for AI that understands and generates human language. Think of it as like a super advanced autocomplete, even though that's an oversimplification, that can write paragraphs instead of finishing your words. But it also has its own brain built in and can think. These are the same types of AI systems powering ChatGPT and Claude, but open source versions let regular people like us run them on our own computer without the constraints of big corporate tech companies. Why should you care about open source AI? It's simple. Freedom and control. When AI is open source, you're not locked into whatever big tech decides for you, and you don't have these privacy violations. You can run it on your own computer without an internet connection, you don't pay for subscription fees, and no one's tracking what you're doing. Your data stays private, you choose how you want to use the technology, you are completely in control. The cool thing is there's already some amazing open source models out there like Llama, Mistral, and Gemma. Those names might sound weird, but they're actually powerful AIs anyone can download. Some of these models are surprisingly good, sometimes matching the capabilities of paid commercial options, just without the corporate restrictions. Now for the fundamentals, let's talk about the building blocks. A base model is what you get when an AI has just learned from its training data, such as reading books, internet text, and code. But these are pretty raw. Ask them a question and they might just continue the sentence instead of answering you. That's why Instruct models exist. They've been taught to actually follow directions, be helpful, and understand the nuance of back and forth conversation. You might have already heard people talk about parameters. That's just how many adjustable parts the AI brain has. More parameters usually means smarter AI, but also requires more compute power. Then there's context length. This is how much text the AI can remember at once during your conversation. The model's weights are just the actual files you download. Think of them in the AI's brain saved on your computer. Parameters are how large and smart the model is. The context length is how long you can keep a conversation going before it runs out of memory. And the weights are the files you download on your computer that uses context and associates words together. Another thing you might have heard are benchmarks. These are when people compare the models with standardized tests that measure how well the AI performs at different tasks. These scores help you figure out which model might work best for what you need. Don't stress about the technical details for now. Just know that higher benchmark scores generally mean better performance in that particular domain where it was benchmarked. This is akin to teaching something to a student, then giving them an exam so you can figure out how proficient they are in that knowledge. I hope you've learned a few things so far. We still got a little bit more to go, but don't worry, we're just covering the basics. So how are these things built? Let's talk about how these models are actually created. Training is the initial process where companies feed massive amounts of text into the AI so it learns language patterns. This creates what we call a base model. It costs millions and requires specialized equipment, so that's why most of us just download pre-trained models instead of making our own. But building an AI model does not stop at the training. So what's next? Fine-tuning is when you take that existing model and teach it new tricks, like following instructions better or specializing it in something like medical advice. Think of it as like taking a general education student and then sending them to a specialized school to learn a specific trade. If you're thinking about training your own AI models, those are the two things that you need to know as the basics for starting off. And even if you're not going to train your own model, it's still kind of cool to know how that works anyway. Now, we've talked about adding information to an AI, but developers can actually remove information from an AI using a technique called obliteration. So it's like selectively erasing certain knowledge from a model, most commonly used for removing unwanted things from the responses or removing refusals and censorship. There are existing LLMs that have already been obliterated, are available for free, ready to go, and you can just download and use them. The next thing I'll talk about is multimodality. When you hear modality, That is just talking about what the AI can understand beyond text. Some models only work with text, while others can handle images, audio, or even video. Each one of those things is a modality. Multimodal models can do things like describe photos, generate images from text descriptions, can hear audio, or could generate audio. For beginners, though, I would recommend just starting off with text-only models just to get you started and then kind of move up from there. Now that we've covered some ground, let's get into the technical specifications. So let's talk some tech stuff, but I promise to keep it light. Model formats are just different ways AI models are packaged. Think of FP32 as the original high-quality version, like an uncompressed photo that looks amazing but takes up tons of space. So what can AI model creators do to make them smaller and use fewer resources? There are other formats like BF16 and GGUF that are basically more efficient versions that still work well but need less resources. GGUF is super popular because it's designed to run smoothly on regular computers, and that's probably the first type of model you're going to use. I have other videos on my channel that you can check out about how to do that. Another term is quantization. That sounds fancy, but it's just compression for AI models. The original models are massive, but quantization shrinks them down so they can actually fit on your computer in your CPU or GPU and memory. It's like converting a 4K video to 720p. That's the best analogy I can think of. Slightly lower quality, but way more practical for most people. The cool part is, many quantized models still perform amazingly well. Now, what kind of computer is needed to run this stuff? As for what computer you need, it really depends. Some smaller models can run on just your CPU, and others might need a decent GPU, graphics card. That makes everything much faster. You don't need some $2,000 gaming rig, but the better your hardware, the larger and faster the models you can run. The good news is, there are options for almost any decent computer made in the last few years. Please watch my videos and subscribe for new ones because I cover different models, their requirements, and software that you need to run them. Oh, and here's something cool. Many newer laptops and computers now come with NPUs or neural processing units. These are special chips designed specifically for running AI. Your MacBook M series like the M1 and M2 chip, the Windows Copilot Plus PCs, and even some Android phones already have these built in. They're like having a mini AI accelerator right in your device, letting you run certain open source models super efficiently without draining your battery or heating up your laptop. So if you bought a high-end laptop in the last couple of years, you might already have neural processing unit capabilities right there. So you've loaded up an LLM on your computer. Now what? You need to start prompting. That's when you ask the AI questions or give it instructions. But there's something else to know before you start doing that, and this is where you can really leverage an open source AI and get a lot of power. That's with the system prompt, which is like a special set of instructions or rules for how the AI should behave. It's like telling a new employee what their job is before they start working. Prompt templates are just pre-made frameworks that help structure your requests consistently. You might enter the prompt template yourself or use chat software that already has the template built in, which is the most common thing. Another term to be aware of is inference. This is just a technical term for when the AI is thinking and generating text. During this process, everything gets broken down into tokens. Tokens are chunks of text that it processes. More tokens means more processing time and memory usage. Tokens are usually portions of a word, and the average token is 2/3 of a word. But can an LLM do deeper thinking than just predicting the next token? For sure. Chain of thought is a neat trick some models can do where the AI thinks step by step through a reasoning process of complex problem solving before answering, which often gives better results. There are also hybrid reasoning models that can toggle the thinking on or off. Sometimes in a template you would use think tags, or some software has a button you can press to turn the thinking mode on or off. Something to be aware of is that an AI's knowledge is limited to its training data, and its knowledge cutoff is going to be the cutoff of what training data it has. But how can we get the AI to learn new things? That's where RAG comes into play, or Retrieval-Augmented Generation, which is probably one of the more game-changing things for home users. Instead of the AI just using what it learned during training, RAG lets the model pull information from your documents, websites, or databases, so you can have it answer questions about your own files, or get up-to-date information that wasn't in its training data. It's like giving the AI the ability to look things up before answering you. We've covered training, we've covered inference, but what about the software that you need to actually chat with language models? To use these models, you'll need some kind of interface. The most popular ones for beginners are LM Studio and GPT for All. They give you a chat interface similar to ChatGPT, but for your own local models. They look intimidating at first, but are actually pretty straightforward once installed. I have tutorials for these on my channel you can check out. Now, what if you want a more customized way to interface with an AI? If you're feeling adventurous, or if you have some programming abilities, you can run models directly through Python files, which are just simple code scripts. But don't worry, you can usually copy and paste these from guides and open source code without understanding all the code. It's like following a recipe without needing to be a chef. And AIs like Claude and ChatGPT and Grok can even help you code for other AI. If you want, you can also learn all about coding for open source LLMs as a separate study. So, where could you get open source AI language models to chat with? For finding and downloading models, you'll mainly use two websites, Hugging Face, which is like a big repository of AI models, and GitHub, where developers share their code. When you're using easy programs like LM Studio or GPT for All, they have little AI model lists that you can pick from and download quickly without having to go through big repositories also. So again, in the beginner sense, you probably want to start off with LM Studio, click button, download model, and then just start chatting with it. If you want to go to the repositories, Hugging Face makes downloading models super easy with a simple click command, while GitHub is where you'll find most of the interface programs and instructions. Both are free and essential parts of the AI open source ecosystem, yet not required for downloading and running models. Well, that's it. If you've made it this far, you now understand the basics of open source artificial intelligence. Congrats! We've covered everything from what these models are to how they work to how you can actually use them yourself. Remember, this whole field was completely inaccessible to regular people just a couple years ago, and now you can run powerful AI on your own computer. I hope this helped to demystify some of the jargon and give you a clearer picture of how everything fits together. Keep an eye out for my next video where I'll break down how benchmarks actually work and what those numbers really mean for everyday use. This stuff is constantly evolving, so there's always something new to learn. Subscribe and hit the notify bell if you want to stay informed. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. I'm making these guides because I wish they existed when I started my journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.